Empower your leadership journey with the CEO Series. Whether you're at the gym, strolling, or commuting, our impactful dialogues with world-class leaders are just a click away. Immerse yourself in the minds of visionaries shaping today's most influential companies and innovations. It's not just an interview. It's a masterclass in leadership. Don't miss out. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and major streaming platforms.
Good morning, good evening, depending upon what part of the world you're in. If it's Friday, it is the CEO Series, where we bring together the most phenomenal executives from across the globe, and they walk us through their career journey. Our guest today is Hasan Fardan, who's the CEO of Fardan Group, where he drives strategic development for the group's diverse portfolio of companies. He has a background in real estate and finance, and has led significant digital transformation initiatives, corporate governance across the organization. He's a respected leader, not only in the Middle East, but across the globe in fintech, digital payments, with an active presence on global platforms. He has received so many awards, it would probably take me another show to go through the awards and accolades he's received over the years. So with that, I want to welcome you. Hasan, how are you?
I'm very well, Tom. Very well, Ron. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you today. Happy to be on the show.
Good. Last time I saw you, you were giving that dynamic presentation at the Future Innovation Summit, and I said I need to talk to him a little more. So that's how this all came about. We always start our show to try to get some background as to how do you start from university and now you're the head of the Fardan Group. So give us kind of a walkthrough.
Sure. I mean, I'm an Emirati citizen. I'm born and raised in the United Arab Emirates. I grew up in Abu Dhabi. Really a very shy, very reserved kind of guy. I was very much into basketball growing up, and for a period of time I was really big in martial arts. I competed in taekwondo for a number of years, a little bit of kickboxing, but really very shy, very reserved. And I went to study in the UK. I completed an undergrad in finance and a postgrad in real estate finance investment. And I worked in the UK for a little bit before I came back home to the UAE. I worked with Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, which is the largest sovereign wealth fund of the Emirate of Abu Dhabi. Back in 2019, my grandfather, who was the founder of Fardan Group, knocked on my door and said, "Hassan, I'd like you to come and help me restructure our family holdings," and basically told me, I'd like you to play a sort of a key instrumental role in that. So it's like if I gave you the authority, how would you do it? My grandfather was in his mid-80s at that point in his life, and it's like because I've got a keen interest in family governance, and generally corporate. I've been exposed to very good corporate governance practices during my time with the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, ADIA. I said basically this is how I do it. We'd set up a family trust under English common law, which has a lot of benefits of hundreds of years of precedent, and we'd move everything into there, and we'd structure it in a very sophisticated way that protects the businesses, that protects the long-term interests of the family. So the ADGM at that point, the Abu Dhabi Global Markets, had just set up this amazing platform, whereby they have Sharia compliant trusts. So we were one of the first Sharia compliant trusts to set up in the UAE, and we migrated all my grandfather's business interests. At that point, I was naive to think that it'll take me 6 months. It took me just over 3 years.
I know.
Yeah,
it always appears it's going to be easy, right?
Yeah, always appears it's going to be easy, and in our part of the world, family structures can get sometimes pretty complex, right? So you got to make sure that you've dotted all the I's and sort of crossed all the T's, which we did. We made it consistent with Sharia principles, which was very important for our family and my grandfather, very important. But we built the business and the group on the basis of very sound, corporate best practices, global best practices. So yes, we are a family business now, but we're very institutional. So anyways, going back to the story, After 3 years, I went back to my grandfather, and my grandpa, it's done. Here you go. Here's here's what I promised. And I'd like to go back to my to working, semi-government or government. He's like, you're not going anywhere, son. You're you're taking over as group CEO. And that's really where my journey with Al Fardan Group really started in my operational capacity. So my grandfather and his brother in Qatar. So my grandfather Hassan Al Fardan, his brother in Qatar, Hassan Al Fardan, started the group together, as is known today, Al Fardan Group, in 1954, which is largely centered around jewelry and natural pearl trade. The natural pearl trade really was I would say the main driving engine of economic activity in the GCC and our part of the world. So in 1971, when the UAE was founded, my grandfather set up Al Fardan Exchange, and that was really on the back of the success he had with the jewelry business and the natural pearl business. I mean, they were dealing with various currencies from around the globe, and there was quite an influx of foreign migrants into the UAE. And the region by extension, and so they needed a solution to address this problem. So if you ask me, that's one of the best lessons I took from my grandfather, is that you find a genuine business need, or not business need, but find the genuine need that people need, and find a genuine problem and come up with solutions, and that will naturally turn into a profitable business for you. Try to fix a problem. Don't obsess about making money. Don't think about necessarily IRRs or equity multiples, as they talk about in the private equity space. Look at genuinely fixing somebody's problems, or helping to solve some sort of issue, and then naturally will evolve into a business.
As you told that story, I'm thinking about your grandfather. Your grandfather saw something. So it's kind of like you're working in a company and someone sees that the skills are there, and they decided to maybe choose you and groom you. What do you think your grandfather saw in you to give him the confidence to say, you know what, I'm going to let him have a shot?
I mean, there's a cultural perhaps aspect to it, but it doesn't always guarantee that you are going to be part of a family business or not. I mean, my father is the eldest son of my grandfather, and I'm his eldest son. So in a cultural context, sort of there is that expectation, but that did not necessarily mean that I would automatically qualify or be chosen for the role. I showed the interest, I showed the commitment, and I was very transparent with my grandfather of what I wanted to do, and going through sometimes transformations are not the most pleasant or the most fun, right? Because you got to put certain hard rules in place. And you start to really hold people accountable, my grandfather is like a true, spirit of the entrepreneur. Like he didn't come from this doesn't have a university degree, hasn't worked anywhere corporate in his life, right? So and alhamdulillah, praise be to Almighty God, he managed to build an incredible business, but he never really got around to building that corporate structure. So here comes this young gun who thinks he knows it all.
The brains of the family.
Yeah, here comes this young gun thinking he knows it all, trying to do things in a different way. The process wasn't particularly fun, but the end result was alhamdulillah very, very, very positive for the group, for the business. We started to see some incredible growth on the back of the structural work that we did. It allowed Al Fardan to really start to achieve its potential. I mean, the analogy that sometimes my colleagues say is that like we were a sleeping giant, and suddenly, we alhamdulillah, we were raising. And I say that with the utmost humility and the utmost, respect and pride. It's been fun. It's been fun.
That's cool. Such a good story, in telling that. So, you'd gone through the process, you thought it was going to be 6 months. Now it's 3 years.
Yeah.
But you still had that hunger. I wanted to go back. Was going back to UK, going back to doing something else, or what was missing? And what did you find out later that was missing?
Sorry, missing in what context? I didn't get you there.
In the context to say, I'm here, I'm doing this, we're successful doing this. Okay, I'm going to hand it off and I want to go back. And your grandfather said, not going to happen. This is the agreement we have. And you move on from that. So,
sure. I mean, I always had this sort of idea in my mind that I'm going to go back and build my career up with one of the large, sovereigns or investment houses, in the country, or and that was really sort of the trajectory I had for myself. But deep inside, I've always felt like that, especially for our exchange business, our Fardan Exchange, that we really wanted to take it to another level, because we're one of the biggest players in the region, but so far we've only been confined to our market, and we didn't achieve the kind of size that potentially we could have been had we been a little bit more aggressive. So that fire, that hunger, to be on the top of our game, it really meant something for me,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So even though I had a very keen interest to be a part of the business, the family business, and then to keep going and to go ahead, there was always like a sort of hierarchy or structure that had to be sort of respected.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the desire, the hunger, the commitment, the sacrifice is really what really made my grandfather think that this Hasan is the right guy for the job.
Wow, that's an amazing level of responsibility to bring someone in at that age, and to have that confidence that you were the one who was going to drive that forward. So would you say that your grandfather, the family structure was instrumental in your life as far as guidance, the lessons they built and showed the family as to what could be done? What was that grounding force?
It was important, to show the family sort of the tremendous kind of benefits we can get from having solid governance and solid structures. We've always had ambitions to grow beyond our domestic market, and I think inshallah we're going to start to see or start to realize some of that in the coming years on the back of the strategies that we have. Forgive me, I'm not going to disclose too much because
I know all your competitors are listening in to say, well, what is he going to say now, right?
Yeah. Look, I mean, it's been an amazing journey. It's been humbling on so many different levels. Incredibly educational for me personally, but the fire, the hunger, the excitement is all there. And well, look, I am a soft-spoken person, but I am very, very competitive. I'm very, very competitive.
Well, when you gave the kind of sports analogy in the beginning, that's kind of probably where that came from, right? Competing.
Definitely.
Individual competition. So as you look back over your journey, how did you stay grounded? Because I'm sure 6 months we started, 6 months was the goal. Now it's 3 years. I'm sure you ran into situations whereby you just wanted to throw your hands up, but you stuck with it. What was the glue that held all that together, that kept you focused?
So long as you have a very clear, I would say, vision, where you want to be, right? Just keep pursuing it. I don't want to misquote Epictetus, the Stoic Epictetus, whatever obstructs the way becomes the way,
Okay.
Just kept breaking barrier after barrier, obstacle after obstacle. I mean, there's a degree of tenacity and drive that's required to do this,
Yeah.
I mean, I had family members, close friends, even my wife would tell me, like, Hasan, you're running yourself to the ground. Like, the mission is more important than my own personal sacrifices, right? That's how much I care about it, and that's how much it meant to me, right? You got to have this unbelievable energy and fire and drive and tenacity, and don't expect to get it from anybody else. Don't expect it's got to come from within. I know it sounds cliche, but it really genuinely has to come from within.
Yeah, it does. A friend of mine posted online this morning that she had not been to the gym for 3 weeks, and the stress that she was under and all those things. And she said, you know what? The alarm came on this morning. I got up, got back into it, get back on track. So I could have laid there and slept and tossed and turned. But sometimes when it's facing you, you just got to get up and go back out there and get beat up again and keep trying again. And that's kind of the mindset, correct?
It's the grind. You got to learn to love the grind. You're having a good day, you're having a lousy day. You just get up and you grind.
Question just came in. What is the milestone that you are most proud of out of that long journey to where you are today, to the so-called top of the pyramid? If you had to look back on that and say, what in particular that I'm most proud of?
To be honest, Ron, like I feel like I'm too young perhaps to start thinking about milestones and achievements. I've got my whole career ahead of me. I mean, we pulled in some incredible relationships during the time that I've been with the business. We've grown our volumes, our revenue, our profitability. Alhamdulillah, very, very healthy. I mean, we're public. We're not a public company. I'm not going to disclose numbers, but I mean, we've transformed the business. The market is a lot more. I would say alert to a lot of our activities, and I think we positioned ourselves as a tech friendly. I would say digital first business. Historically, our exchange business, and I'll focus largely on our exchange business because it's our largest business, is a traditional brick and mortar, money exchange and remittance business, and we've been able to change that perception, I think, quite radically. I mean, this has been an incredible week for us. We're one of the founding partners of Dubai AI and Web3 Festival, and I was at a panel yesterday, sitting with just some world-renowned leaders, and talking about the AI, from a retail perspective, from security, and we even had very senior Microsoft people with me on that panel. To go from being a sort of a modest brick and mortar based business, to talking AI and deploying, the AI at various levels across the organization, driving, significant, digital revenue streams. It's really very, very, very fulfilling, and this is the thing I think that gives me the most I would say, heart and sort of satisfaction, is the fact that we've been able to drive such incredible transformations, governance, our compliance, even our revenue, which is obviously very, very important. Yeah. So that for me is very, very fulfilling. But I mean, have I achieved something that I say that this is my career milestone? I think I'm far from it, to be honest.
Okay. So we'll talk again in 10 years, 10, 15 years, and we'll by then you should have something that we want to discuss, and talk about. So the business units that you're in, you're talking about the exchange business, you talked about the jewelry business and all the other small businesses, and now you're weaving that into AI and fintech.
Correct.
I think a lot of companies are struggling to try and make that move to, weave into that. There was a company, I forget the name of the company now in New York City, WeWork, and they kept saying that we're a fintech company. They said, no, you're not. You sell real estate. But they were trying to make that move. How did you, I know you have a strong background in education. How did you develop the AI learning journey to understand how you could weave this into the business that you're in now?
I mean, look, Ron, I don't come from an IT background. I don't have any formal training in digital. I've had to develop myself, and I've invested a lot of time in myself, and I've surrounded myself by an incredible team of professionals that really bring a tremendous amount of experience with them. I mean, it's a journey, it's a process. I've had to commit. I've been to courses overseas, to prepare myself, to be able to make informed decisions. I mean, there's a minimum level of competency or knowledge I had to gain for me to be able to at least have the right kind of discussions with the subject matter experts. I mean, in no way am I going to become I would say, a professor of fintech or digital, or be able to challenge, some of our IT developers on how they're coding stuff. That's not the point. Understanding at a 30,000 feet level, sort of what is the outcome, if provided you've got a clear outcome and the clear use case that you want to achieve, and making sure that you've got the right people with you, to be able to do the technical parts, I think is very, very important. Mm-hmm. And having realistic goals. I think one of the issues that we see with a lot of these so-called fintechs, and which I say this with the utmost respect, is that you get a lot of theater, you get a lot of big promises and things, without having any actual real use case or I would say application for what you're trying to do. It's just AI for the sake of AI. It's fintech for the sake of fintech, and there's this big wave of fintechs spending tremendous amounts of money trying to develop volumes, but then they don't have a sustainable business model. So go back to basics, understand your own limitations and where you need to develop competency. You have to do it. You have to invest the time. You've got to invest the money. You have to put the effort in.
Yeah.
It takes time to develop AI models, and there are a lot of ways that you can do that. You can work off some publicly available, open source foundational models. But then you've got to build capabilities in-house to be able to take those foundational models and create, use cases of applications that actually will have a positive impact or will have an impact on your business.
Yeah. You talked about that 30,000 feet and being above that, not involved with the coding and all those kind of things. That's the underpinning of that, which means that you have a capable team to guide you through the other thickets of other things and gives you more time into a different space. Talk to us about your leadership style. How do you manage a diverse portfolio of skill sets? I'll put it that way.
Yeah. The way I like to build teams is really to build ecosystems. I mean, I'm not there to tell people what to do. And for me, when I appoint a C-suite or chief operating officer or a general manager, when I appoint somebody into a leadership position who's part of my executive team, he or she has to be subject matter expert. And they have to have the ability to, first and foremost, to really absorb the kind of culture that I want to percolate in the business, and secondly, allow space and capacity for people to go out there and do their jobs. I want my executives to take risks. I want them to go out there and actually try to execute things. And if mistakes happen. You have to allow capacity for people to make mistakes. I know that sounds cliche. But a lot of people want results, but they don't want to take risks. The world just simply does not work like that. You have to be willing. You have to be willing to take risks. You have to be willing to make mistakes, and ultimately you have to be willing to lose money. Otherwise you're kidding yourselves. So I like to create an ecosystem whereby the individual can do very well, and that individual is working collectively, harmoniously with the remainder of our C-suite. I create forums for people to stay up to date, and I also create forums where people can challenge each other. But it's effective. It's effective collaboration, and it's constructive criticism. Sometimes I have to allow pressure to build up. Sometimes I have to reduce some of that pressure, right?
Yeah.
But so long as everybody's aligned, and I go back to the division, and that we have a clear direction of where we want to go. You'll eventually get there. Sometimes people come up with these very intricate strategies, right, where they show you that everything is smooth sailing and it's just a line going up, right? That's not the real world.
Not real life.
That's not the real world, right?
Yeah. You talked about creating that line that goes all the way up. There's a very famous video, Ali Malali, when he took over Ford. And he brought the team in, and everything was going well. Everything was going well. He said, I don't understand this, because we're projected to lose like $7 billion over the next year. So how could everything be going well? But the culture was that they were afraid to speak up, because the other regimes, you spoke up, you either got your head chopped off, metaphorically, and you had a bad time there, and your time was limited. So in creating that team atmosphere, you said to sit there and discuss. Maybe it's not going well, but feeling as if this is the climate I can share that I'm struggling, or here's the challenges I'm having. It's called red light, green light theory. It's so remarkable because it's the same thing that you just said.
Let me share a story with you, Ron. During COVID, there was. Were you in the UAE during COVID?
Yes.
Were you around? Yes. So you experienced the very, very tight lockdowns that we went through. And at that point, we had very little digital revenue streams. At that point, it was practically negligible, practically zero. Not far from zero during those days. Because of the very strict lockdown, our revenue went to zero overnight.
Whoa.
And there
same spot here. But go ahead.
Yeah. So at some point, we had to connect with I can't remember the name of the agency. That there's an agency for disasters, and the national. Anyways, I think you know which agency I'm talking about in the UAE. It's an emergency agency that's from the government that's responsible for dealing with natural disasters and that kind of thing. So, anyways, point is, I was approached on a number of occasions, to cut salaries and to do mass layoffs for the business. And on 3 occasions, I said no. Absolutely. In the same way that I care about the livelihood of my my family and those around me. These guys are have families as well. But if anything, we're gonna start by cutting me off entirely, and allowing others to continue to earn a salary. So it had such a profoundly positive impact on the team's morale that we started lobbying the relevant authorities and trying to make sure that they treat us, or us as in the exchange sector, the MSBs, in the same way that they would look at pharmacies and hospitals and supermarkets and all the essential services. Yeah. So within a couple of days, we were actually and this happened as well during Ramadan. So we had very, very late. I think we got a 2 a.m. slot at some point, to speak with the relevant authorities. And within a couple of days, of me delivering that message and us lobbying at various levels, and the team really working their hearts off, to make sure that things are happening as they should, we managed to reopen operations, and we actually left COVID much stronger than we did prior to entering COVID. Yeah, alhamdulillah, that's something that I'm very happy. I'm very, very proud of. It's that culture of being one, working as a family. Supporting each other, and if we need to sacrifice, I'm starting with myself before my peers.
Mm-hmm. That's a powerful message sending to your employees, whereby examples of other companies, not only in UAE but across the globe, people were laid off, salaries were cut, and all those kinds of things. So when you send that kind of impression, your workers tend to feel that you care, and you're showing some sense of responsibility. And I'll go first. And so that you can be made somewhat whole as a result of that. So you think leaders today, because I've always said that COVID, in a lot of ways, was kind of a gift for business, because everything was moving along, cruise control, and you didn't have to worry about anything. And all of a sudden, someone came in and said, they threw the puzzle in the air, and now you've got to start all over again.
It's it was a big shock to the system, to be honest, to a lot of businesses, and it forced us. Alhamdulillah, now we look back in a very positive way to go through a radical, rapid digital transformation, and we're far better today. We really are far better today from the perspective of our digital operations and our digital revenue streams. Because of that, it's not always I would say fun to go through that thing in such a short space of time, but once you look back and look at what you've managed to accomplish as a result of that pressure, it's like taking that pressure and then turning it into something productive.
Yeah. The CEO series was born out of COVID, because in the house, nothing to do, and we got together as a team and said, what can we do to try to put something out there? And that's what it started with, and it was kind of awesome. Bare bones operations is starting out, and now we have a global following and across the globe, just by talking to people and understanding the journey. And the reason behind that is that so many times people will look at you at the top of the pyramid, and they assume that it's easy. You come out of school, the trajectory is here. I'm going to go here, but my God, the detours, the stop and goes, and the throw your hands in the air. That's why we do the show, because it's important for aspiring leaders or people starting careers to understand it's never going to be linear the way that you think it is.
No, definitely. There's, ultimately, life is just a collection of moments. You're gonna have some bad ones. You're gonna have some good ones. So when ride through the difficult ones, and when the good ones come, celebrate it wholeheartedly. Surround yourself by some good people. Believe me, nobody wants to work with people that they don't like working with, and for me, the best thing that I see that really, gives me a sense of, I would say, gratification is seeing people high-fiving in the office, and, being friends in and outside of the office, working together. The best performance that I've seen within our group is when people are happy working together.
Yeah. I'm dealing with a situation like that now out of Bahrain, that infighting within that group, and they can't do business. I mean, they can do business, but imagine if they were all tuned up and were moving towards that goal and bought into that. So where did that come from? Where did those learnings come from? Did that come from competing in sports and understanding the team concept? Or where were you infused with all of that deep level of thinking about the new style leader?
To be honest, it's a blend of things. I get a lot of inspiration from my grandfather. Our founder is just an unbelievable human being. Very loving, very warm. Very caring, but incredibly demanding. Incredibly demanding. And I think I got that drive from him. I mean, my father is also a serial entrepreneur. He started his own group of companies independent from the family, and he's done very, very well for himself. So I think it's partly genetics. It's in the family. But I think martial arts and sports did a lot, and sort of martial arts in particular, gave me discipline, taught me to be very regimented, but also taught me compassion. And that's something that my grandfather's very, very big on. He's always sort of thinking in the collective, and not thinking about his own personal needs or his own personal wants, actually.
Yeah.
And so it's a blend really of what I've learned in college, of course, and my time working with Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, which I'm immensely grateful for. I mean, I've learned so many incredible things out there. But it's really the blend of the environment that I've been raised in, and also the corporate experience that I've had with ADIA, working with some remarkable people.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. Our discussion and your insights brings me to something that I read a white paper a while back that said as younger leaders get into that position, you'll see a lot of the mentality or the dynamics between workers and leaders. It's more of an adult to adult kind of conversation versus adult to child, which was the old way of doing things, because it says, here's what we're going to do, and here's why you're going to do that. So if you were giving a keynote, I know you give keynotes all the time because that's when you and I met. You were giving a keynote at the summit. If you had a room full of aspiring executives, MBA students who were looking to come out and capture the world, little did they know what they were getting into. What advice would you give them?
Lead with empathy, with compassion. Believe me, somebody that really looks up to you, but also cares for you, and knows that you're fair, and knows that you treat people well, will work unbelievably hard with tremendous amount of commitment, and make sure that people believe in your mission, and make sure that you really bring them along the way. Make sure that it stretches. Make sure that there's enough, I would say, an intellectual stimulus and intellectual challenge, but also show people that you're willing to go out of limb to support them. Ultimately, it's your people that are going to be looking after your business. So long as you create an environment that allows people to thrive, then your business will thrive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's all about people. It's all about people. You look after your people, they'll look after your business.
You're preaching to the choir. You're preaching to the choir. This is what I talk about all the time. It's not that hard of a concept, but you trust me. Some of the conversations I have, I walk away and I shake my head, in thinking about this hardened mindset of managing people the way that people used to be managed in a different era. So when I talk to HR people and CEOs, I say you have two customers. You have external customer and you have a customer internally. The customer internally can drive success.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I have a question.
Tell me.
If you're growing and you're hiring executives from across the globe, what do you look for in hiring a senior executive? What are there some key things? Don't give away all your secrets, but
sure.
If there's something that what is the kind of a grounding thread that you look for?
First and foremost, it has to be the right cultural fit. It could be the best technical skills or talent that you could find around the globe, but if they're not the right cultural fit, then it could poison the culture that we've built in the business. And I have made mistakes. I have picked some incredibly talented people who've not necessarily been a great cultural fit, and it's backfired. So I've learned, unfortunately, the hard way. So now whenever we look to hire somebody senior, or somebody in leadership position, somebody whose subordinates would aspire to learn from, or aspire to one day take up the role that person has, it's got to be a decent human being. It's got to be a good person, a person that treats people around themselves, treats people in a nice way, and actually coaches people. And in the event that somebody doesn't do too well, they don't throw them under the bus. They would actually, take responsibility, own up, and actually shadow that person. That's the kind of individual I want in our business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm sure at the level you're at this stage in your career, and I know there's still a trajectory to go to, and people see you speaking across the globe. You're influential in this market. I'm sure you are approached lots of times by people that want to be mentored. Not that I'm saying you're open for that, but for people that you mentor or guide, what are some key foundational points that you look for when one of your executives may come to you and they're struggling? How do you try and bring clarity to that situation, or mentoring points, or what is your style like?
I take a lot of inspiration from my martial arts days, because when you become a black belt, you have to mentor and coach people.
Black belt.
There are a lot of people that will walk in and out the door, right? And then they will make claims that yes, I want to become X, Y, and Z. I want to do this in my career. Everyone's full of aspirations, but honestly, from experience, very few will actually come up and actually deliver the kind of effort that is required to take them to that next level, right? So to take somebody on board as someone under my mentorship, somebody under my wing, I really have to screen them very, very hard before they get to that point, because I've spent a lot of personal time. I mean, my wife has complained a number of occasions, you're spending too much time with this person or that person, right? But because I believed in that individual, and for me, when I take somebody under my wing, I want that person to eventually become better than me.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at it in any other way, quite honestly, is selfish. A leader has to be grooming people under them, and with the hope that one day they actually surpass them, that they're better than them in every possible aspect, right? So you're going to have to be tough with that person. You're going to have to be, influential in some shape or form. You're going to have to steer, those people. And you have to be able to develop people personally and professionally. You need to really get to know how they are as an individual. Only then really will you be able to unlock their potential, I think, as a professional, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That
was a master class on mentoring, because my father would always say, everybody talks big talk. Yeah, I want to be mentored, but then they don't want to engage in a difficult conversation or bring the real issues to the forefront. So that was kind of a master class on looking at that. So if you look back on your entire career to where you are today and where you started and the aspirations were here, could you pick out one trajectory that kind of changed everything? Whether that was your grandfather said, nope, you're not going to go back, I need you to stay here. Is there one point you can kind of point to say, this one I'm most proud of? Or
there are a number of incidents. I remember one of the first things I looked at when I joined the business formally at Fardan Exchanges as group CEO. A very I would say important aspect of our business is the ability for us to be able to settle payments in US dollars with an American bank. And at that point in time, a lot of American banks exited our region because of what's commonly known in the world of compliance as de-risking.
Yeah.
So I remember knocking on the doors of a lot of American banks to try to set up these relationships, and here I am, Mr. Know-it-all, energy through the roof, traveling and jumping on planes and knocking on all these doors, thinking that I'm going to succeed. And the amount of people that doubted me, I mean, from our family to senior executives in the business that have been with us for a long time, saying, Hassan, come on, this guy's, and people talking in the office house, this guy think he's going to get us a USD clearing account. 2 years later, I managed to get JP Morgan as our USD correspondent, the largest bank in the world. So I proved a lot of people wrong, and that was extremely gratifying. Yeah,
I made it. I showed them. So, but when you think of that, a lot of people probably tried the same thing, and after one or two non-successes, they said, "You know what? I'm just going to move on." Fortitude. I'm going to keep knocking on the doors. I'm going to keep jumping on planes, regardless of what the naysayers are. Waste of time, all those kinds of things. You stayed focused. Anything there how do you stay focused in those kind of challenging times that you may have had that big meeting, you come out of there, rejection?
Oh, there were lots of rejections. I mean, dare I say, that at some point I felt like I was being laughed at. You're an MSB, you're a money services business, you're high risk, you're coming out of the Middle East. But I just kept pushing. I kept knocking on all these doors. I kept, putting the effort in, and some of our senior team members who actually believed that it was possible, were with me and were joining me and pushing really hard. You don't need a massive team really to work with you. Just a couple of decent people, that share the same values that you do, that believe in the mission that you've set out on, and just put the grind in. There is no replacement for that. There really is no replacement for that.
We do this show every Friday for the most part, and normally we have people making comments. There's so many people making comments today that I can't go through all of them, but I see a large portion of these of people that work for you. Very inspiring and motivating. So great to see our CEO live. Such influential words. And this goes on and on. Great. Our Mr. CEO Chander says that. Prakash says that. That kind of is a rubber stamp. I
love our people. Awesome. We have some incredible people. I love our people. They're an extension of the family as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. So I did one interview, and the CEO was expounding on all these things, and we do all these things. And I know people that work there that said they looked at that entire video, and just laughed. They said that's totally different than the person comes into the office on Monday morning. So it's kind of a stamp of approval when we get to that. So as we begin the process of closing out, what are you most excited about? You've accomplished so many things. You've built the family business up. What are you excited about with the future? I know you mentioned AI and intertwining that into the business that you're in now, but what are you most excited about the future?
We're going through a massive digital transformation, and we're adding a lot of exciting new digital revenue streams. I mean, inshallah, God willing, in the coming months, maybe one or two quarters, we're going to launch our own wallet, our own digital wallet. Which is a massive milestone in our digital transformation journey, and it's part of really a wider fintech strategy that we're deploying at Al Fardan Exchange. So to see that come to fruition is really something that we're very, very proud of.
In the U.S., the local banks were almost on every corner. Now you go through a city, the banks are shuttered because they say go online. So whereas there may have been 10 banks in a region, now they've got one central bank, and they're moving people towards that. You think the money exchanges will, I'm going to say long-term future state, will kind of go through the same transformation? Because when you talk about digital, I'm here, I got the wallet. I don't need to go over to the exchange and stand in line.
True. Look, I mean, it's a natural evolution of our business that and we're very well prepared for that. So you have to look at sort of the dynamics and the specifics of our market and our region. We still have a significant chunk of our population that is largely that blue collar segment, right? Yeah. And this is a customer that is not really within the, I would say, interest of your traditional banking sector. So they're not gonna be accepted by banks. So we provide them with an alternative way to be banked. And our vision, our ambition is for these customers to think of us as really their own bank, and us to be able to avail services that they otherwise wouldn't get from a pure exchange business. So we are preparing for that transition, and I think it's going to be sort of a process. I don't think that we're gonna be shutting branches overnight. The branch network is still doing very well for us, and we're actually going to grow our network in the short to medium term, because we see an active market for it. I mean, in other parts of the world, you're starting to see a higher uptake of digital transactions, and even within the UAE, digital transactions are going up considerably. So for us, it's been an additional source of revenue, and not really as a replacement for traditional brick and mortar. So brick and mortar is growing, digital is growing, but we are preparing for for the day that eventually we will have to either reduce considerably or eliminate the branch network. But I don't see that happening in the near term. We also have an ambition to expand beyond the UAE markets in due course. So we're going to ensure there's going to be lots of jobs to go around for our people in Al Fardan Exchange, and inshallah also within the new businesses that we either acquire or open in the near future.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So Ritesh says that talking about you, he says he's continued to build the organization with very strong values, high commitment, and community responsibilities. A lot of the rubber stamps that are coming through from the employee base, the new customers saying, yeah, Your school is doing all the right things as a leader. So
Thank you.
thank you so much for being a guest. One of the key points to, as this show has developed, is for people to talk about the exact same thing that you talked about. Because as we said, coming out of school, you're all bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. It's going to always be 1, 2, 3, that easy, and it's going to hit you there. And you said, oh, my God. They didn't teach this in school. All they taught was the success factor. So as we talked through that, and the show was built on that premise, so I want to thank you because you brought it all out today, and you gave us what we call a leadership masterclass. I have one school, I won't name the school, in the MBA program. This is a must listen to on Friday morning. And I said, oh my God, that's great. But it's because of people, like yourself. So are there any takeaways that you'd want to give the audience as we begin to close out?
The only real advice I can give is that, whatever you decide to pursue in your career, just do it wholeheartedly, full throttle, as they say, and just live, just give it your all, live and work, and just pursue your dreams with passion and with heart.
Cool. Love that. So, is there any conference that you're going to be speaking at lately, coming up within the UAE?
Probably. To be honest, I can't recall off the top of my mind. At this point, there's a number of speaking opportunities coming up. You'll probably see some some announcements on my LinkedIn if you're following me on LinkedIn, and some really exciting things coming in Q4 of this year. Conferences and announcements about Fardan Group and Al Fardan Exchange in particular. So keep watching and following me on LinkedIn, and you'll see some exciting things.
Yeah, we will do. For the non-employees, follow Hasan, because he's the masterful leader, and he's viewed. I'm sure you possibly turn down more speaking engagements than you could even handle. Being here and the role that you're playing. So I thank you for making time. Thank your staff for coordinating with us to get all of this together. And hang on for a few minutes as we begin the process of closing out. So for the listeners, every Friday, the CEO series. So listen in and share across the globe. So thank you very much, and stay online.
Take the CEO series with you anywhere, anytime. All episodes are now available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and major streaming platforms. It's not just an interview. It's a masterclass in leadership.